How in the hell did Sonia do that on last night's episode of The Real Housewives of New York? Well, there's a lot of things coming out in regards to The Real Housewives of New York. You know, we reported earlier this week that Ramona Singer was reportedly being axed from the show after being there since the beginning. Well, now a counter report is coming out from the Daily Mail where they're saying that Ramona Singer isn't out and that there is a big cash shakeup coming to The Real Housewives of New York. Welcome back to the Kempire Daily YouTube channel, where you get daily and consistent hot topics in music, entertainment, reality TV, and more. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. Last night was a doozy of an episode of The Real Housewives of New York. Before we get into the recap, let's just talk about some of the news. As I said before, we reported that Ramona Singer was being axed from The Real Housewives of New York, according to a report at the time. But now a counter report from the Daily Mail is saying that that's not the case. Actually, Ramona is safe, and there's going to be a big cash shakeup for next season. So let's get into this report. And as always, we will be citing our sources. So this is what the Daily Mail is saying. A Real Housewives of New York insider exclusively tells dailymail.com that a cash shakeup is coming down the pike for the ladies of the Big Apple. But Ramona Singer will be staying put. Chatter has circulated on social media recently that Ramona was going to be axed from the show. But according to the source, they're saying that's not the case. Ramona Singer ain't going nowhere. The story is complete rubbish. So this is what they're saying. And honestly, based on what I'm hearing from this report, it makes sense. Hearing Ramona was going to be axed from the show so early before the season, they didn't even shoot the reunion yet. This is the quote. "We do not make casting decisions this early in the year. We decide after the reunion episodes have aired," the source says. The production company Shed and the network Bravo really take into account what the fans say online and how they respond to the cast. Hey, Bravo. Over the coming weeks until the reunion is filmed, there will be, quote, anti-Ramona stories leaked everywhere as this housewife attempts to push her off the show. The only problem is Housewives fans who have stuck with the show this season know what the problem is, and this year it isn't Ramona Singer. And I know what all of you are going to say, and all of you will be speculating. I've heard, and I even did a poll in our community tab in regards to why do you think that which housewife is the reason why RHONY is not doing well this season? And honestly, it was Leah won. And I've been saying it since the beginning. Leah McSweeney, your time is up. It's time for you to go. It's time for you to go. But based on what we're hearing, there is going to be a big cash shakeup. So again, according to this report, they're saying that Ramona also isn't the cast member that should be worried. There is one cast member who producers have found particularly problematic, as what viewers are seeing on television isn't real. Ramona has been the backbone of the show this season, and she's been a key part of the series since day one. Love her or hate her, she makes great reality television. But as we've been reporting, we've seen throughout all of the cities and throughout the franchise that they're doing shakeups. They are getting rid of OGs. And remember, Real Housewives of New Jersey had a rumor out that Teresa wasn't going to be coming back this season. And as you see, she is currently filming the new season of The Real Housewives of New Jersey. But trust and believe, they're saying that we might see a cash shakeup at The Real Housewives of New York. They say this, just like OC, you can expect a cash shakeup though. This show can be saved. Look at how great Beverly Hills is now. That remains to be seen, but we shall see. Does someone need to go to jail? Damn. But let's get into this latest episode of The Real Housewives of New York. A lot happened. Bershawn showed up, called the ladies grandmas, said that they were boring. And I know what you guys were thinking because I thought of you when I was watching it. Everyone's shaking their head. She's right. She's right. You guys are grandmas and you guys are boring. I thought the hypocrisy of Aaliyah saying, how are you going to call these ladies grandmas? Even though you made ageist comments about them last season and this season. Remember the boomers comment earlier this season? So Leah, you're not innocent. Maybe because you haven't said it to their face. You said it behind their backs in your confessional. But it is what it is. But at the top of this episode, of course, they're talking about, they go back to that scene where they're talking about race and about Ebony K. Williams being too preachy. Well, Ebony responded to this during her interview with Watch What Happens Live, and she said,
Luther W. said, since you mentioned it isn't your place to teach everyone in the group, what's your reaction to RHONY fans saying you're too preachy? I know you're getting that a lot, and you have a good answer for that.
Yeah, my answer is simply this. I'm a little bit of a preacher, and I wear that as a badge of honor, and I'm a little bit of a teacher, too. The other thing is, I really just wanted to go into this thing, Andy, making the most authentic connections with the women. And just being truthful and honest about where I am and what I'm about. And if there's an outstanding question around values alignment, I got to get to the bottom of that.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. Good answer. Yeah.
look, she has to know where their values lie if we're going to have a true and authentic friendship. Look, we can go back and forth about Ebony. We have seen so many great elements of Ebony in the beginning of this season. Let's not forget that. And because she's talking about race and people are uncomfortable with that, but we're on a reality show, and this was the reality of 2020, even though it's been the reality for many of us for hundreds of years. But we'll put that to the side. As I said before, I think the conversations that she's having is necessary and is important. And we've needed a Black housewife or a diverse housewife on New York since the beginning, because New York does not look like that, especially if you live here. But with that being said, I'm glad that they moved forward in this conversation. The ladies got tattoos. It was an interesting episode. And I'm not saying that they have to be drunk for the episodes to be interesting. Some of you might feel that way, but it seemed as if some people were drunk. So a lot of things happened. Okay, so the ladies, besides Brashawn, or Bua, as Luann liked to call her, Luann was so triggered when she called her a grandma and boring. I'm seeing a lot of Luann being triggered this season. It's like, wow, we see your blind spots. We see where we can get you and get you good, Luann. But Luann, I can see Luann really didn't want to have the conversation with Ebony about race. She tried to make it seem she makes it seem one way when she's with the other ladies, and then when she's with Ebony, she wants to act like she's so open-minded. I've been watching you, Luann, and you showed your true colors in the Hamptons. I'm still watching you. Sidebar, since we're talking about Luann and since we're talking about the Real Housewives of New York, Ramona did reveal that we can expect the Real Housewives Vacation Series, aka the Real Housewives All-Stars, in November. She responded to a fan's question about it. So if you were expecting it this summer, no. November is when we can probably see the official date and release of the Real Housewives All-Stars, Real Housewives Vacation Series, whatever you want to call it. But back to the ladies. So they're having these conversations. Brashawn really shows up. I'm not sure if she's showing up because she was drinking. I don't believe you were drunk, Brashawn, but we can talk about it. She calls them grandma. She says that they're boring. A lot of you agree with them. You agree with them. But we also find out that Brashawn she's suing for her eggs. Like, we need to dig deep in that. She says she's suing a bunch of people. But Brashawn and Sonia start going at it. But Sonia is drunk. I'm not sure if she had that water pill. Leah and Ebony talk about the constant hamster wheel that Sonia is on. We've seen it. We're used to it. They're not used to it, where she's talking about the same things. I'm not sure if Sonia needs therapy. She probably does. Because if she's continuing these conversations about her drinking or the lack of drinking and the divorce, and it might be time, Sonia. It might be time. We love you, Sonia. And I could tell that the ladies love Sonia and they're protective of Sonia, especially when Brashawn called her a clown. Everyone wanted to come to her defense, but she is a clown. We're all laughing at Sonia all the time, and she makes us laugh. So by definition, she could be a clown. And the twerk, Brashawn showed up this episode, and we appreciate it. She stirred the pot. And then she tried to run and hide her hand. But it's okay, Brashawn. We appreciate you for this episode. That conversation escalates. There's a lot of different things. The ladies get tattoos. We also find out that Ebony's grandmother passed away. But I know you guys will say you just don't like Leah. I know I don't. Leah crying the way first of all, it seemed like a very fake cry. And then her crying, and we are thinking it's about her, but she's crying because of Ebony's grandmother dying, understandably. But the cry just seems so fake and inauthentic. And then when everyone's trying to surround Ebony, she's still, and they make a joke and they're laughing. This one's still crying over here. It's like, Leah, she tries to make everything about her. And the whole glam thing, I'm gonna look, Ebony's getting glam, but Leah's getting glam for this trip. The other ladies are just getting themselves together, ready to go, but these two have glam. Straight shooter, I told y'all. I don't care who it is. It's not that deep. But with that being said, we have to talk about this. It was disgusting. I'm just gonna say that. It was disgusting, but classic. Look, when they went Cartagena in the poop thing, look, I understand they ate something. Things happen. I didn't take it that serious. It's a classic Real Housewives of New York moment. But Ramona, how is poop on the ground still? Why wouldn't you clean that up? And how did that happen? I still don't understand how that happens. Maybe you guys can let me know how that would happen. And even if it does happen, let's say you're having stomach issues and you can't make it to you almost made it, but you're in there and you're in your room. Why wouldn't you clean that up? And that was not makeup. And based on what Ebony said on Watch What Happens Live, she said that was not makeup. That was gross. I'm sorry. Like, I know we're going to laugh about it, but that was gross. I did not enjoy watching that. It is what it is. It is what it is. But this was definitely a fun episode. Besides the poop, besides them calling them grandmas, besides Brashawn calling them grandmothers. It was a good episode. It was a good episode. I'm glad they've kind of moved over the hump, but I do think it's necessary, the conversations that they're having in regards to race, because this is a reality. And there are two Black women on this show, and I know that they're receiving a lot of backlash in the comments because I've seen them myself when I talk about these issues on social media. But this was a fun episode. This was another to be continued. I'm looking forward to seeing what we're going to see between Sonia and Brashawn. I'm not sure if they've gotten over this. I can definitely see them getting over it because I just don't see Sonia having beef with someone beyond this trip, to be honest with you. And the interviews that I saw with Brashawn, she said nothing but glowing things about Sonia. I don't love to see Sonia like this, but speaking of Sonia, okay, we had another classic moment. You know, I love my Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo's not my family. But we also had another classic moment. Sonia drinking wine through her mask. Obviously, it's not going to work with this mask. She had a cloth mask, but we didn't see a dribble. We didn't see a drip. She made sure she got that wine in her mouth through her mask. Why, though, Sonia? Why? I'm trying to understand. And speaking of trying to understand, Ramona and Leah have a sweet moment. In the Hamptons, she was shading Ramona when she was trying to talk to her about losing her grandmother and why her grandmother is so important to her. But in this moment, she's remembering what Ramona said and thankful for what Ramona said. Of course, they have a sweet moment. Not sure what is... Speaking of cast shakeups, I honestly believe that Leah won't be back next season. I think Ebony will have the choice if she wants to come back. I want to see more of Ebony. I think Ebony deserves a second season because she's brought so many things. But I know what you guys are saying. She's the reason. Her and Leah are the reason for the drop in ratings. I don't necessarily believe that. I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with having these conversations, so they've turned off their televisions. That's on you. Look, that's on you. We've had the conversations, and now they can have an authentic relationship because they understand where each other's coming from, how they show up in the world and what they experience. You can't have authentic relationships and friendships with people and it translate well on one of our favorite cities, because that's one of the things that we love about New York is that there's authentic friendships. You can't have one if you can't express what you're going through during this pandemic, during these moments of social injustice. You have to know where I come from in order to really appreciate who I am. We can't just have this surface level friendship. We can't if we're going to have a real friendship. There are plenty of people you can have surface level friendship, but I think Ebony really wanted to have an authentic, in-depth relationship with these women if she's going to be on this show and for it to translate well on television. So now that we've gotten over this hump, let's see what the rest of the Real Housewives of New York season will be like. I'm open to it. I'm ready for it. Brashawn. This episode has to be all about Brashawn and what was going on in Ramona's bathroom. And the fact that they zoomed in on it, I'm like, what are we doing, RHONY? What are we doing? It was disgusting, but it was a classic moment. It reminded us of Cartagena, but I'm trying to understand the mentality of why you left it there. Did you leave it there because you want to make good television? Do you think that makes good television? That's not for me. That's not for me. But I want to know your thoughts on the latest episode of The Real Housewives of New York. Let me know in the comments what you thought, who stood out to you. What do you think about this cast shakeup? Who do you want to come back? Who do you want to leave? Let's talk about it in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any breaking news when we go live or when we upload.